10 things Trump's win means for Asia. Number 1, a hot war on China just became less likely. The US has gone through massive preparations to use the Chinese island of Taiwan as a tool with which to create a conflict in East Asia. But Trump has repeatedly said that he's proud of his record at being the president who hasn't started any overseas wars.
They said, he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
And analysts also believe he's less likely to want to fight China on the battlefield. He also said he wants to bring the troops home from around the world. Yes, bring the troops home. Number 2, China will add 1 trillion yuan to its stimulus package. Trump's threat of putting huge tariffs on every Chinese product imported into the US could cause immense harm to China's businesses, and Beijing will have to take action to stop that happening. Now, the buzz in the finance sector says they've already decided there will be an extra 1 trillion yuan in the package if Trump won. Number 3, the global policeman will lose his job. Both parties insist that the US must have full spectrum dominance over the entire world, but Republicans are far less focused on taking the role of bossy world prefect across the entire planet, far less focused than the Democratic Party is. But the rigidness of the intelligence agencies and the military groups means that a lot of America's international interference will probably continue. Yet the hope is that they'll cause less conflict, since the Republicans are just not into the world policeman thing. Number 4, China's position as the world's green leader will shoot up. The US is likely to move backwards on environmental protection and abandon carbon zero targets.
When people talk about global warming, I say the ocean is going to go down 1/100th of an inch within the next 400 years. That's not our problem.
This may be good news for China's reputation as the global leader in solar power, electric vehicles, wind power, and so on. But US backsliding on the environment will be nothing to celebrate, absolutely. I mean, literally the end of the world as we know it is the likeliest result. Number 5, the Ukraine war will come to an end. Now, Trump said he would stop the war in one day. Even if he doesn't do that, he will certainly bring the Ukraine-Russia war to a close next year. It's long been obvious that a negotiated settlement is inevitable. But, the Biden-Harris administration is known to have kept scuppering peace talks to keep the fighting going. The eventual pact will have to be along the lines that Russia and China have already suggested. Number 6, expect big quarrels in NATO. Now, the Dems let the US military hawks use the alliance as a global sales force almost, forcing nations to divert, 2%, 3% of public cash to military spending. Trump wants to force Europeans to pay even more of NATO's expenses, so big arguments there are inevitable. Number 7, the shallow demonization will have to stop. The Biden administration's technique was to demonize the country's competitors as a sort of homogenous lump of autocracy. Democracy versus autocracy. I call it the cartoon villain technique. Now, Trump, while also known as being a very loose cannon, has always shown himself willing to recognize people like Vladimir Putin as a powerful leader, human. A person who should be treated as an individual human as opposed to being a cartoon villain. Same goes for Xi Jinping. They're real people. The hope is that there may be genuine communication instead of the name calling. Although again, Trump's unpredictability and general harshness could really foul that up. Number 8, China's biggest problem, the Western media, will lose power. Thank God. The Western mainstream media barely has any credibility left, but the return of Trump, who hates the media, will of course weaken it further. That means China may get a chance to get the truth out, telling the world that it's not actually a giant gulag. It's not actually a dystopian high-tech police surveillance state. Now, the hope is that the world's public, unhappy with the dying Western media, will look for better sources of information, and there'll be more truth around, which has got to be good for everyone, right? Number 9, as social conservatives, Asians share many principles with the Republicans. Asians tend to dislike the extremes of the gender wars. They consider the extremes of what gets published in the West as a bad thing. They prefer strong leadership to the US style, money democracy. As America becomes more Republican, it will probably become more like Asia. It's probably not a bad thing. Number 10, the global balance of power will change. Now, Trump's previous stint in power was good for the financial markets of the world. If China is due for an economic uptick, as an increasing number of analysts are saying, Trump would want to improve East-West relationships. At the same time, Trump doesn't really get that much respect as a leader, not at home nor overseas, let's be honest. So America's reputation as a whole will inevitably fall, as will the reputation of Western pay-to-play democracy. Now, all that will speed up the transition from the planet being a US-led world to becoming a fairer, safer, multipolar planet. And that is definitely a good thing. Peace.